Welcome to the Sports Idiot. I am your host, Johnny Disco. Today, what is the difference between false start and offsides? Is college football a pagan ritual? And how many Lamborghinis is too many Lamborghinis when you're 22 and look like a reptile? All that and more. I'm Johnny Disco. I am a sports idiot. It's illegal to do a podcast now. She's not a horse person. She's a person horse. People like to be choked. Something we like. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sports Idiot Studio here in the Sports Idiot Shed. I am your host, Johnny Disco, and this is the very first episode of the Sports Idiot. So thank you guys for tuning in and checking this out. Wanted to start just by giving you guys the lowdown on what this show is going to be all about and kind of where the idea came from. So, I am your host, Johnny Disco, and I am a sports idiot, all right? So, growing up, all my friends, they had something I call spotism. They were spotistic. They knew all the teams, all the players, all the rules across all these leagues. They knew the history. And I always wondered, where did you learn all this stuff? And the answer is they're just spotistic. They're born that way, right? And they can operate fully in our society and contribute in meaningful ways. But I never even had Spasburgers. I was in the complete other direction, and I am a sports idiot. And so this show is for people like me. If you are the type of person that does not have a sports show and does not enjoy sports media, it's just kind of like they're screaming at you the whole time. If that's you, this might be a show for you, because we're going to look at sports in a little bit of a different way. We're going to look at it from a beginner's mindset, because when you tune into other sports shows, they just assume you already know everything. They assume you're spotistic. But on my show, The Sports Idiot, we're going to assume you're a sports idiot. So we're going to go through things that even a baby would know. And we're going to do it in this format. Every episode is going to be a sport, and we're going to look at something we think first is confusing, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to talk about something we find cool about the sport, and then we're going to find something that's controversial. So the idea is that by the end of an episode, you could, you're not going to be full spotism, but you could very much pass for Spasburgers, and you'll have something to contribute. And as we know, when we're having a sports conversation, if you don't know very basic stuff, what do? You're just like, you self-censor. And I've done that my whole life. I'll ask one or two questions, and then they're like, hey, how about you stop with the questions? Yeah, we're just going to watch the game and not talk. So if that's you, if you're the person who wants to ask those questions, this is the show for you. This episode is going to be college football, and we're going to get into the thing that we find confusing right now. So, what is the difference between offsides and false start? So let's envision football a little bit. First thing, it is 11 players versus 11 players, okay? Kind of a big sport, a lot of people on both sides, right? And some people out there, they say they're the 12th man. That's what they'll say. That's their thing, their tagline in the world of football, both at the professional level and the college level. There are people who are like, when you come to our field, you're not playing 11. Nope. You're playing 12, because me and all my boys in our little khaki outfits, we're up here being the 12th man. It's an odd ritual. And we're going to talk about weird pagan rituals that college football does later. So it's 11 on 11, and they're playing on a big rectangle. And sometimes people call that rectangle the gridiron. The best way to think about football is like a war, okay? It's 11 warriors against the other 11 warriors, and what they are playing with, what is the object of this war, is the football, also called a pigskin, because I assume it comes from pigs. It's made from a pig. I don't know. It sounds weird to say it like that, but it's probably made of pig hide. That's why they call it the pigskin. but it is a very interesting and unique shape. You're seeing it here over my shoulder if you're watching, but the shape of a football is a prolapsed spheroid. Prolate spheroid. It's not a prolapse spheroid. Prolate spheroid is the cool geometry name for that shape that you're seeing over my shoulder and is the shape of a football. It flies through the air pretty well, but if it hits the ground, it bounces super crazy. If you've never seen a football bounce, sometimes it's pretty cool. You see the kickers, sometimes the quarterbacks, they'll take the football and they'll bounce it like a basketball and it comes right back to them. You got to look that up. So we have the shape of the ball. We have the amount of people on the field. And what's happening with the prolapse spheroid is my team of 11 dudes, and probably the fans in my stadium, my 12th man, we are trying to go over there. And you and your 10 other dudes are trying to stop us. And the object is to get the prolapse spheroid into the opposing team's area down at the end, which is called the end zone. That's like a special zone, right? It's like base. It's like, oh, I'm base. I'm safe here. Base. When we're going back and forth, the prolapse spheroid, the football, is moving up and down the field. And where that ball is placed on the field is called the line of scrimmage. Scrimmage. S-C-R-I-M-M-A-G-E. Scrimmage. That's a confusing sports term because in football, it's a line of scrimmage. But in all sports, including football, when you just go play a friendly game, that's also called a scrimmage, right? You'll be like, hey, to your nephew, like, hey, how was your game? He's like, it was alright. It was just a scrimmage. Yeah, regular season isn't for like another month, but yeah, so we got a couple more scrimmages. It was just a scrimmage. So where that line, where the ball is on the field, is the line of scrimmage. And that is where all the play kind of starts and happens. So both sides of the team will line up along that line, like a war, like a battle. They'll line up and they'll go face to face. And that is where false start and offsides come in. Okay? So let's look at it first from the perspective of being on offense. So you've probably heard of a quarterback, right? Tom Brady was a famous one, and he was good looking. He went from not being good looking to being like icy good looking, and now he kind of looks like a robot. So when you're on offense, you're throwing the ball, you're giving the ball to a guy who can run, you're trying to go over there. You're the guy, and when you're the quarterback, you're the guy who's trying to get beyond these baddies who are trying to stop us and get to the end zone, right? So when you're on offense, before you get to the line of scrimmage, you have a little powwow. You have a little powwow called a huddle. And you're probably thinking, oh, huddle like in my tech company where we, go into a huddle room for 5 minutes and everyone says their daily goals? No. And believe it or not, the tech huddle actually stole it from football. A lot of people think, football stole it from tech. That's actually not how it happened. So they go into a little huddle. They all kind of stand around, right? If you've ever seen a football movie, there's a lot of shots in the huddle. Right? And they're all looking around. It's like a pan going around, and they're like, what are we going to do, boss? So in that little powwow, what is going on? I've always wondered this. What are they talking about? And so I looked it up. There's a couple things that are happening. First thing, they're all like, how's everybody doing? Just kidding. They don't do that. They don't have time. First thing they do is they talk about what play they're going to run. Right? So they're going to get in this little group and they're like, all right, guys, we're going to run the skibbity-doo-dah. And they've all gone to practice all week, so they know what the skibbity-doo-dah is. They know it. So first thing, they talk about the play. Second thing they talk about is something called the snap count. So this is very interesting. And I think this is something that a lot of people do not appreciate about football at the professional level and the college level. When they all line up like that, when they go head to head, and they're all squatted down in the three-point stance, and they'll start pushing, they have to pause for a full second. A full second. Everything has to come to the quietest little squeaky mouse could sneak through and they wouldn't notice. Because when the prolapse spheroid, when the ball moves, that's when everything snaps to life. So, they're in the huddle, and they go, okay, we're running the skibbity-doo-dah, right? We've been practicing it all week. They're not going to see it coming. And then the other guys are like, okay, and what is the snap count? when is the ball going to move? And that's when the quarterback would be like, okay, it's going to move when I lift my right leg. Sometimes they'll lift their right leg, and that's the signal. Sometimes it'll be like on 2, and they'll like, and that's a clap, and that's a fake. And then they clap the second time, and then the guy who holds the ball, the center, he pushes it back. And once the ball moves, now we're playing football. I want that to be kept in mind, because when they end the huddle, they go to the line, and all of these huge brooding dudes are all like thinking, okay, here it comes. That was one clap. Now on the next clap, I'm going to start trying to kill this guy in front of me. And it happens, and boom, they start fighting. So if someone on the offensive side of the ball moves before the ball moves, they're in their head, they're like, wait, was it 1 claps or 3 claps? Oh, it must have been 2, boom, and they go, but the ball doesn't move. That is a false start, right? He started before the ball started. It was a false start. So when a false start happens, the flag on the sideline, there's a guy watching down the line, that guy throws the flag immediately. And it's called a dead ball foul. So play stops. And the offense moves back 5 yards. You sometimes will know it is a false start because the defensive side, they'll get up and they'll start pointing. They'll be like, oh, he moved. Hey, he twitched. Come on in. Look at the replay. He twitched. And you'll see a lot of pointing. They point, both sides point a lot. But that's the thing to know about false start. It stops the play, okay? So now the other side of that coin is offsides, right? So if I'm on defense and I jump into y'all's territory before the ball moves, I have gone over the line. I have gone too far. And that is called after the ball is snapped. So I jump off. I'm in my head going, all right, I'm looking at the ball. I'm going to get these guys. And I'm hearing the claps and I'm seeing the foot go up and I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be on this third clap. And I go, bam, and the ball doesn't move. I've jumped off sides. The official pops that flag, pops smoke and pops that flag. And the offense gets to get what's called a free play. The play doesn't stop. If they get more than 5 yards, if they move the ball forward more than 5 yards, they get to keep that distance. If they don't, the play ends, they get 5 yards. So it's called a free play, right? So that is the difference between false start and offsides, and a little bit of a picture of what's going on. Hey guys, we just wanted to take a second and thank our very first unpaid sponsor. So this is a brand that we've absolutely loved not partnering with. They've given us absolutely no money, and they have no idea who we are. But we wanted to hype up their product because we just love it so much. And that, of course, is our good friends who don't know us at Pawleys Island Specialty Food Company. They make a dip that I particularly like called the pimento cheese dip. I have it 5 times a day. I wake up, I have a little pimento cheese. I go to bed, I have a little pimento cheese. I call my parents, I have a little pimento cheese. That's how good this stuff is, okay? It's a pivotal part of your life. I have some in my car. I have some in the house. I keep some in the bathroom. I actually have a little travel fridge like a kid with diabetes would have for my travel pimento cheese. That is how much I love this product. I can't recommend it enough. You know, if you guys go onto their website and you go down to the coupon code, type in discount 10 or like holidays 25. Sometimes you can get lucky, right? Sometimes you can catch something in there. I don't have a coupon code because, again, this is an unpaid ad. They did not pay us any money. They don't know who we are. We're just giving them some free airtime because how wonderful a product it is, guys, okay? That's Pawleys Island Specialty Food Company Incorporated in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Their website only lists a P.O. box because they don't want me showing up. That's how much I love it. That's how much I love that product. So let's get back into the action. What do you wear on the airplane? Are you one of those people who get really dressed up and then take a picture with your cufflink in frame and then post on social media about how, you know, never miss an opportunity to impress strangers. I always wear the one suit I own for flights because then everyone knows that person is an important person. Is that you? Are you the other side of the spectrum? Do you wear like Cookie Monster PJ bottoms and tote around a disgusting pillow. Is that you? I like to wear athleisure, right? And typically it's in the upper quintile of my athleisure, right? This is stuff I got one Christmas ago, last Christmas. You know, I'm not wearing the stuff I got 3 Christmases ago or 4 Christmases ago. That I wear to the grocery store, right? I don't wear that on the airplane. But some people, when they fly on an airplane, they choose to wear team-issued sports merch from the school that they probably didn't even go to. That is the signal that they want to put out to the whole world, to every single person on this flight from Wichita to Cedar Rapids. Hey, just want to let everybody on this plane know we got a Missouri Tiger on this plane. And yeah, it's the stuff that the actual players wear on the sidelines when they're not playing. Those kids, the kids that are hurt. I'm wearing the things that the 18 to 22-year-olds who are hurt on the college football team that I love, I'm wearing what they're wearing. And so, you know, if anyone's got a prob with that, they want to take it up with me, the 50-year-old man who didn't even go to Missouri, is just from St. Louis. College football is a huge part of American culture. And what we want to talk about in this section is something we find really cool about college football, and that we think it is a pagan ritual. It is scratching an itch that all of us have in the West to go back to our pagan roots, to embrace polytheism, human sacrifice, bacchanalia, right? Getting hammered and embarrassing yourself. We do all of those things through the lens of college football. It allows us to be, 1000 AD Ireland pagans living in small little communities. There's a local wizard who casts spells on all of us. That's us every Saturday in the fall here in America. And I want to tell you guys about some of the cool ways that we are pagan here in America. Now, first thing, if you are in the airport and you see somebody wearing a sports piece of merch, there are a few teams out there where just wearing something from that school is an invitation from other people that you don't know to say something to you, and then you are supposed to say something back. There is a robust call and response culture in college football. Just to give you a couple of examples, if you are walking through the airport in Columbus, Ohio, you might see someone in scarlet, which is a kind of red, and gray. It doesn't look very appealing or pretty, but if you said to that person, OH, it would be rude of that person not to respond with IO. And that is just one of the many odd pagan rituals that we do in college football. Each team seems to have a little call out you do with your friends when you see them out in the wild, and more so strangers. You're walking around and you see someone in a University of Arizona hat, which has really pretty colors. It looks like the American flag. Ever heard of it? And you say, bear down. That's what they say. They go, hey, bear down. And it means bear down to victory. Like when you're right at the end of something and you got to bear down and really hold on forever. That is what they say to each other. So you could just be out and about wearing a U of A hat that you got at Goodwill because you thought, hey, this is America colors and it's an A. And someone might come up to you and go, hey, bear down. And you go, okay, thank you. I needed that. I've had a rough day and it's only 4:30. So I will be bearing down to dinner time. You could do that. Some other fun ones, Michigan, that's my school. That's a school I like. Less fun, right? You just say, hey, go blue. That's pretty straightforward, right? But if you go to a school down in Texas it's just called Texas, and I didn't know that. First time I went to Austin, I was like, yeah, we're thinking about going to the UT Austin game. And my friend was like, yeah, dude, it's just Texas. No one calls it UT Austin. That shows that you are a sports idiot. They say, hook 'em. Hey, hook 'em. And then you say it back, hey, hook 'em. The other thing they love to say is they call their alumni organization, it's the X's from Texas. Like that country song, like, all my exes live in Texas. They love that. They love that. They go, hey, I'm in the Texas X's, and next time you see one of our opponents, gore them with the horn of a beast of burden, a huge cow. I guess it's a bull. Don't know the difference between a bull and a cow. Are those the same thing? This is the sports idiot. It's not the animal idiot. But although I am an animal idiot. They say hook 'em. Hook 'em. Hook them. Put the sharp horn of this like 600-pound animal, probably. I don't know. Is 600 too much? Sounds right. And, just implant it in their rib cage. Stir it around. Give them sepsis. So they die here in Austin. There are other ways of, signing to someone that you are in the same pagan tribe as them. A lot of schools have fun hand signals. So if you're just listening, I'll describe these. Let's see. If you go to University of Southern California in Los Angeles, they co-opted the peace sign. They're like, yeah, no. It's not the peace sign, and it's not V for victory. Nope, it's our thing. It's called fight on. Fight on, Trojans. Don't stop fighting. Peace sign, nope. V for victory, nope. Neither of those things. Continue to fight. The war's not over. Fight on. And they go like this. Fight on. They go like that. Another one, which, if you didn't know this, you might think, what? What are all these students in the student section doing? And that is Arizona State University in Tempe. They do this. So for everyone out there, it is my pinky. I'm holding down my ring finger, and my middle and my pointer are flexed out to look like a trident because they are the Sun Devils. Their mascot, Sparky, is like a devil character. And true story, I'm from Arizona. The house we moved into had like a 10-foot depiction of Sparky in the great room. And we didn't paint over it. We just put a big mirror over it. So that works. This is the forks up. That's what they do. They go, everybody hands go up. And they put the forks up like this. But as we know, right? You scissor these together. What do you got? What do you got? Everybody knows. Don't need to say it. And last but not least in the fun pagan rituals is the fight songs. These are legit like choral presentations. Where else in your life, there's the holidays when you sing. There's your birthday when everyone gives just a completely lackluster performance of happy birthday. People are phoning it in. It's like, hey, could you just try and keep the same note as the person next to you? You're flat. You are flat. Person at Daiquiri Factory, pick it up. You guys should have warmed up in the back because this is not what my expectation would be. The other place you sing a song pretty much is only at college football. Big schools have these fight songs. They're all old and super rah-rah. And we're gonna sweep in and beat the boys, 'cause we're the team on the school with the river. And don't forget the lake. They all go like that. And they're fun. And they lift the spirit. Now, schools have official fight songs, and usually those are played by the band, which is another fun pagan thing that college football does. There's like a big group of people with unique medals, and they use those to make a sound that like affects the group. The fight song is usually like ba 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 ba, very Philip D'Souza, and that's usually played during touchdowns, right? When we get the ball in the end zone, the band will start doing the ba 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 ba. We did it again, and people will be like, "That's our score. We did it again. Fight, fight, fight until the end." And they're not very long, right? Those are the official fight songs. Sometimes the official fight song is really good. Like at University of Michigan, it's called The Victors, and I'm partial because I love University of Michigan, but it'll get you jacked up. It'll get you wanting to run through a wall, right? If I put it on right here, right now in the Sports Idiot studio in the Sports Idiot shed, I might run through the side of the shed. Real story. But then there's unofficial fight songs. For instance, the University of Alabama whose mascot is, I think, an elephant, but it's also a wave, the Scarlet Tide or something. Very confusing. And what they say when you see a person from Alabama, you go, "Hey, roll Tide," and they go, "Hey, roll Tide." They love it. They love it. Guys, when you're out and about, okay, I challenge you. If you see someone in one of the schools I mentioned, do it. It's really fun. Even if you didn't go to the school, you can be like, "Hey, roll Tide," and they'll be like, "Roll Tide." And, be like, "Did you go there?" Be like, "No." And they'd be like, "Do you go there?" And you'd be like, "No." That's just how it is, right? But they play a very fun song by a band named Alabama, which is a really smart move. If you're a band, just name your band after a state. What's up, guys? We're Montana. Everyone knows Montana. They have a song called Dixieland Delight, and they play that, just the third verse, when it's like electrified and fun. They play that, and it's super fun, and they've changed some of the words to naughty words. So it goes, "Spend my dollar, parked in a holler 'neath the mountain moonlight." But what the students say, get this, they say, "Spend my dollar on a beer, parked in a holler 'neath the mountain moonlight." And then they say, "All night," which I assume is a sexual thing. "Hold her up tight," and they go, "Against the wall, make a little lovin'," and then they go back to "all night," and they go, "All night." So it's not super creative, but it's fun, right? So these are more examples of just crazy pagan things that we accept through college football. What I think the biggest part, the paganness of all of it, to me, is that this is one big bacchanalia, also called Saturnalia, a big, wild party. And everyone's hammered, right? Everyone's drinking since like 6 a.m, going nuts because it's Saturday. It's college football. We're going to get so blackout drunk that we don't even see the game. And then if the 125 18 to 22-year-olds who go to our school, if they don't do it good, we're going to yell and break stuff. I want to tell you guys a little story in 2024, but it was New Year's Day, 2024. So it's 1/1/2024. So it's like still pretty much 2023. I went to a very special college football game in Pasadena, California, just outside of beautiful Los Angeles, called the Rose Bowl. And the Rose Bowl is played every year on New Year's Day. They have a parade called the Rose Parade. And it's one of those things that you talk to people all over the country and they watch the Rose Bowl. It's kind of like a tradition in college football. So I'm there at the Rose Bowl. First thing I see that is of a bacchanalia, like a crazy show party, is a fan from the other team. So it was my team, Michigan, whomst I love, versus Alabama, the Tide, right? The Elephants, we think, and also a wave. We're playing them. It's a blue team versus a red team. Classic colorway knockdown. And the Rose Bowl is in this kind of beautiful little valley up above Los Angeles and Pasadena, which is really pretty up in the hills. And it's at the base of this golf course. So when you drive in, you kind of go in this long snaking line and they just fill in the golf course. You just like drive until that's your spot. And so we went early to tailgate, which is a big part of college football. You sacrifice an animal. Usually it's like a pig. You eat it, right? You imbibe, you burn tobacco, ganja, whatever you want. All of these rituals, we're just doing them because it's about to be the big, gladiator fight in the Coliseum. And it's a golf course, so it's not a forest. It's not like there's trees everywhere. It's like very spread out. And you can it's like golf. Like on a golf course, all the trees are trimmed up to like 10, 15 feet. So you can like see everything really perfectly. And there's this bumbling dude who has the like swoop haircut you see in the South. And he has a Peter Millar silky Alabama polo and khaki shorts and like it's a woven or a stitched belt. The belt, they all have the same kind of belt. It's like a stitched belt and it has all the logos and whatever. And he's like walking along and he's grabbing at his pant line and he finds this one tree that's standing alone. And there's hundreds of cars around. There's people walking everywhere. It's not a private environment. And I'm like, whoa, hey, bro. Can't, not there. You can't pee there. And he rears his Alabama head, and he goes, where even is it? That's what he said. It sounded like he'd been up all night, and he'd smoked 1,000,001 cigarettes. It sounded like he'd had at least 55 beers that day. Where even is it? And I knew what he meant. It was, where's the bathroom? And it was like, it's right over there, dude. It's like right over there. It's like another 100 feet. And he was like, oh, thanks, y'all. In the way that Southern people like to talk. Of course, that's hyperbole. It was close to that, but it's not as crazy. And he just went one more tree and peed. And at that point, we just didn't stop him. We said, good for you. You called our bluff. So when you go to a college football game, people are getting really, 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 really drunk. This was evidenced by something I witnessed in the third quarter of that game. When you go to a college football game like the Rose Bowl, it's about 100,000 people fit in the stadium, and it's a lot of standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. It's very exhausting. And in the third quarter, the sun had gone down, it was dark. This man, who was probably 70, had brought his 10-year-old grandson. And when Granddad showed up, it was clear he'd been smacking the cocktails down. He had a little bit of that cocktail breath, and he had a little bit of that flush in his skin, and he was kind of moving different. And so by the third, he was, gone. And he said, this is not hyperbole. He said this at least 100 times, closer to 150 times. He said, come on, Michigan. He just kept saying it. He'd go, come on, Michigan. Come on, Michigan. And what is that? Why do you say, come on, Michigan, 100 to 150 times? It's a spell. This guy was a wizard, a really drunk wizard. And he was casting a spell on Alabama, and guess what? We won. It worked. And there's another weird form of magic that takes place in college football, and it's the imaginative thinking of the fans. So in this same game, okay, we are in the west section, and so the ball is down in the east section. And so the ball and the team realistically 200 yards away, okay? So 600 feet, far. Between where we are sitting and where the action is happening on the field, the football players, there is 100,000 people-ish, maybe 50,000 people, right, half the stadium. And we are in the 70th row, so it's 70 rows, then the whole field, which is huge, and then the team. And the coaches have a very special system where there are microphones. The coach has a microphone, and there's a receiver in the player's helmet. So they're 25 feet apart, and the coach has to have a microphone to be able to hear him. But college football fans are so magical and pagan that they will utter incantations, even though there's no possible way that what they're saying is going to have any material impact on the outcome of what's happening down on the field. Evidenced by, we were in this section. The end of the game, they're about to run the play, and some guy in my section is like, hey, watch for the trick play. Watch for the trick play. Make sure you guys are accounting for the trick play. We are so far away from the people that you're trying to convey this message to. There are so many noises between us and them, and yet this guy thought, you know what, I got to let him know. It looks to me like a trick play could be coming, some trickery, some magic. And he had to yell out a counter incantation, a counter spell. So in my section, I have, come on, Michigan. And watch out here. Don't get fooled, guys. You don't see it like I see it from the 70th row. You don't see what I'm seeing up here, guys. They might run a trick play. Get the message down. Relay the message. And that's the other crazy thing. People would then echo it. And if you got enough people to echo it, then yeah, it could work. But it's like, yeah, hey, good point. Yeah, guys, watch the trick play. This guy had a good point. So is college football a pagan ritual? Yes. And I think one thing we should definitely look at is what are the fun patterns and colors that these players are wearing? Let's get into it. Here we go. Colorways, guys. What are colorways? Colorways are different ways of combining colors. So like if you go to a store, they might have the same vest in 4 different colorways, right? So what we want to look at is our top 5 favorite college football colorways. This has nothing to do with the sport of football, but it's the colors they wear, and some of them are very fun. We're going to do 5 of our favorites, and we're also going to do one that we hate. So get ready for that. Here we go. Number 5 in my favorite colorways, counting down, of course. Number 5 is going to be UCLA, that little school in Los Angeles, the University of California, Los Angeles. Their colors are blue and gold, which, there's a lot of blues out there. There's a ton of blues. But there's something about the combination of these two colors, blue and yellow adjacent, that I just like, okay? So, do I like UCLA sports? No. Do I like UCLA's colorway? Yes, I do. Number 4, Ole Miss, the Runnin' Rebels, out of somewhere in Mississippi. Who knows? I don't. They have a primary colorway, which I don't like, which is red and navy blue. Meh. Seen it a million times. The colorway that I do like, that they wear a couple times a season, is a throwback, and it's the red and the powder blue. So icy. Doesn't this look cool? Doesn't this look sweet? I mean, it's fun. It's not so stuffy. It's like, yeah, we're the Runnin' Rebels. Their mascot isn't the Runnin', good boys, right? It's the Rebels. Give them a fun color. Number 3, and I know this is going to raise some eyebrows. Arizona State University, ASU, baby. Ba, 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 ba. Everybody's potential shocker go up. ASU is in Tempe, Arizona, which is just outside of Phoenix. It's pretty much Phoenix, right? It's built around this fun little mountain, which is kind of cool, very Arizona. Their colors are super classic. It's maroon and gold. Look at that. Look at that. If you went to the other big school in Arizona, University of Arizona, just like an hour away in Tucson, their colors are red, white, and blue. Looks just like the American flag. They might say, yeah, ASU, more like piss and rust and mustard. That's what that would be a thing that they would say. Number 2, I know some people out there who are going to love this pick. It's Texas. It's UT Austin, baby. The University of Texas in Austin. Such a classic colorway. It's the burnt orange and white. When they are home in Austin, they sometimes wear the uniform is the burnt orange is the top, right? But when they're on the road, when they're away, they wear all white. And the color, the numbers and the names are crispy burnt orange. And this is a fun fact. The burnt orange on the uniform is slightly different than the burnt orange on the helmet. So that's kind of cool. I think this is just such a unique colorway and very similar to ASU. It really represents, Texas and Austin and their whole thing. It's like, I'm a fake cowboy and I live in a liberal utopia. That is burnt orange. That is University of Texas. Now, number 1, this should not come as a surprise to anybody, right? I've said it already on the show. It's going to be Michigan. University of Michigan. Hail to the victors, first thing. And second, their colors are maize and blue. How fun is that? A lot of the other schools are like, yeah, our colors are red and white. Basic colors. Everyone knows red and white. Maize? You're like, wait, like they grow in South America? Exactly right. It's a beautiful burning gold that singes the eyes. I love Michigan, generally speaking, but look at these unis. I mean, how good do these look, right? Nobody else does this. Other people imitate this, but there's no, for instance, if you go to professional sports, I don't think there's one that does the dark navy blue and that gold like Michigan does. There's only one in the world, and only one team can pull it off, and that's Michigan. Now, the final part, which is the colorway that I disdain, hate, not want to see on my screen. I don't want any part of it. And sadly, that goes to a little school not far from Texas called Texas A&M. The A&M stands for agricultural, and the M stands for machines, probably. Don't really know what it stands for. Their colorway is maroon and white. Not working for me. Not contrasting enough. It's like, maroon is okay. Other thing I don't like about Texas A&M is they do the 12th man thing. That's their thing. They're like, hey, we're the 12th man. When you come down here to Lubbock, probably, you better watch out. Because you're not playing 11 guys. You're not. You're not playing 11 guys. You're playing actually 12. Because the student body and the fans and all the alumni, it's like we're a 12th player out there. The other thing about Texas A&M that I don't like, they have something called the Cadet Corps. If you don't know how to spell the word corps, it's C-O-R-P-S. What? That's a big favor to you, by the way. If you're reading publicly somewhere and you say corpse, people are going to laugh at you quietly to themselves. They won't say anything. They won't correct you. That wouldn't be polite. But we spelled the word corps with a P in it. Good luck, people who don't speak English. They have something called the Cadet Corps, and it's something, right? It's like a student organization where they're, I don't know, it's like paramilitary. It's like almost military, but it's not. I don't really know. It scares me. But they wear this really shabby, like beige khaki. It really gives Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, if you've ever read that. The Delta race, which are like the janitors, they have community sings, and they wear drab khaki. So, those are colorways, guys. Let's keep it going. If you were a reptile, human, a reptilian, and you're 22 years old, how much money do you think would be an appropriate amount of money for you to make in a year? Now, remember, you're cold-blooded, okay? And you live underground, okay? And sometimes you come out from your subterranean lair to play a little football. Throw the prolapsed spheroid around a little bit. And it just so turns out you actually can throw the ball pretty good. People are like, this guy who I've never seen sleep above ground, he can really sling it, as they say. Would you think that would be worth $50,000 a year? Like a median salary? You might think that. Yeah. I mean, how much do you need when you live underground? You know, the earth does most of the work, right? You don't have HVAC because you're cold-blooded. You're a reptile. You're of the reptilian race. What if I told you that this 22 years old, ladies and gentlemen, 22-year-old reptile who lives underground and is good at throwing a football makes $11 million in a year? $11 million. He has a Lamborghini, which is a very fancy sports car that is highly impractical for anyone. But if you're 22 and you live underground, what are you going to need a Lamborghini for? You can barely drive, let alone drive a very, 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 very expensive sports car that you have to be, like really into cars to know how to drive. And that gets us into our controversial section on something called NIL, which stands for name, image, likeness. So let's go back a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what college football used to be like before they introduced this thing called NIL. Back in the day, college football players and all college athletes were viewed as amateurs. They were viewed as people who, by definition, were not compensated for the sport that they were playing. They were compensated in that they went to the school and got an education. That was the idea. That was the thought. On paper, that sounds good. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They're getting an education, and while they're there, well, they might as well throw a pigskin around. But it didn't work out so good because college football is like the 5th largest company in the world. It is a money machine. Like I previously said, people who didn't even go to the school will spend hundreds of dollars to look like the injured players on the sideline, so that when they go on an airplane from Wichita to Cedar Rapids, everyone in the plane is like, whoa, Who's the gray beard who might be the special teams coach for MIZZOU? That's what in their head they think that's going to happen. It's never happened, but that's what they think is going to happen. College football prints money. So for a long time, you had the schools and the TV companies and the networks, I guess is what that's called. And you had another organization called the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association. All those people were making lots and lots and lots of money. As an example, when I was in college, I played college lacrosse, and whenever we got to the postseason, the playoffs, all of it was paid for by the NCAA. Our hotels, if we needed to bus somewhere, the bus was paid for. If we needed to fly somewhere, the flights were paid for, all by the NCAA. I can tell you this, college lacrosse wasn't responsible for contributing that revenue, just like probably all the other college sports. But college football and college basketball, everyone relax, those are money makers. So if you are a college football player who's getting a quote-unquote education and you're not being compensated, but all these other people are making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, it kind of starts to feel a little exploitative. Now, to take this even one step further, there was a period where the schools were using the name, image, and likeness of these players and not compensating them. So it'd be like, me in a football uniform and it says Johnny Disco on the back, and the University of Michigan is like, here's Johnny Disco, our biggest player. And they would sell a bunch of seats. But I wouldn't get any of that. I wouldn't get any of that. And that's a problem. So for a really long time, it was like, okay, you guys got to pay the players. Like you are treating this like this is some amateur thing, but it's clearly not an amateur thing. This is a professional sports league. This is one of the biggest professional sports league in the world. So we got to pay the players. Now, there was a lot of suspicions that players were getting paid. There was a lot of scandals where it got found out that players were receiving compensation. And some players even got the biggest award you can get in college football, the Heisman Trophy, which it's this guy doing this. He's like doing this thing. Fun fact, whenever you see someone do the Heisman pose, that's not what the Heisman Trophy looks like. Look up a Heisman Trophy. It does not look like the pose that people do when they think they're going to win the Heisman. But they had guys who lost. They took away the Heisman, which is the biggest award. It's a really big deal. They're like, oh, yeah, someone bought your mom a Jeep. Sorry. Now, the drama of this arrangement was that there's no guarantee that these kids go off and make any money in professional sports. Even the best ones don't make it to the pros. So it really truly was quite exploitative. But they're like, all right, we're gonna write this wrong, and we're gonna do it through this thing called name, image, likeness. And now players get the opportunity to make money. But is it good or bad? Is it good or bad? My opinion, and that's what we do in the controversial section, we give my opinion, I think it's quite bad because it's created this really unequal system where you have people who are just seemingly normal people. They might be a little tall and they have a strong throwing arm, but all of a sudden, that 22-year-old who's on the same team with like 124 other kids between 18 and 22, this one has $11 million? Is that going to end well? Does anybody think that's going to end well? No. We all know it's going to be really bad. It's all going to go really poorly for that person. If you get $11 million at 22 years old, do you make it? No. Nope. Most of those people go through a bunch of bad, right? They have a bunch of periods where they lose all their friends, and then they get into substances, and then they go through like 4 or 5 rehab cycles, and then they're like, I just really need to figure out who I am. It's a curse. And because certain kids out there can slang these balls, they get to become like richer than a lot of, full-time working adults. That doesn't seem like a good idea. I think they did it. It's cool that they did it. So now some of these kids can get paid, but it really sure doesn't seem like college sports are amateurs anymore. And in that same vein, it's like, why even make them go to school? Like, just pay them to be the biggest, strongest, craziest athletes ever and the best football players ever. And then every Saturday, let them duke it out to the death for our enjoyment. Like, why are we even pretending that these kids are learning stuff? I mean, some of them are, but let's be real. Most of these kids, they're in like a special program called I Play Football program. They have like a whole separate campus. They give them a free scooter, right? They go to special classes that are only for them. So I think it's cool that the governing bodies did something and instituted the NIL, and some kids are going to get paid. But I think they need to work something out. Oh, I think this would be a good place to do UBI, Universal Basic Income. Give every college athlete like 30 grand a season for their time, for the effort. And that way they have a little running money, but they don't have $11 million. Just put yourself in that situation. You're 22 years old and you're really good at throwing a football, and someone gives you $11 million. Well, I sure hope I win a lot of games. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because you're already on the wrong track. And ... he didn't win a lot of games. It wasn't a good investment. And I assume as we go forward in college football, we're just going to see more and more and more of that. Now, I think one of the other weird side effects of this is you get situations where you take a person who exists in a pretty small universe, right? You take a person like the gymnast, college gymnast, Livy Dunn is her name. And she does college gymnastics. Nobody follows college gymnastics, right? When it's Olympics time, we go, oh, they did gymnastics at Ohio State. Oh, cool. But we really just care about USA, right? So now we have this girl, Livy Dunn, and she did a brand partnership with this athleisure brand, Vuori. You can't even spell it because you just start saying it. It's spelled Vuori. She did a ad with them where she is like doing, front walkovers in Vuori. And yeah, I mean, she's a college gymnast. She looks great. But should every person in the country, male or female, be like, nice, those are tight. I like that top. Why do you like that top? Why do you like that top? No, I'm just curious. Why do you like that top? Is it because it kind of implies that her nipples are underneath it and you can kind of make something out? This is a 22-year-old girl. I'm glad that there's economic opportunities, but it just seems like we're not celebrating this student. We're not celebrating even her athletic abilities. We're just like, I like to look at this. And maybe that's life. Right? I'm not trying to be a prude. And good for her. Get the bag, as they say. But it just seems like a weird negative side effect that the NIL is going to self-select these people for not the best purposes. So that leads us to what I think is the answer to all this. And that is we do NIL, but we do it for engineering students, right? So it's not just Livy Dunn because she's really attractive. We also get like Puneet from the engineering department. And he's like, this is an ad for a Civic, Honda Civics. I like Honda Civics. I'm Puneet from the University of Texas Engineering Lab. Might sell some more Honda Civics. Or like, what's up? I'm Brett from Kaisai and I'm endorsing risky texts and failed potential. Right? Cautionary tale. And then Brett from Kaisai, gets some money, his UBI, his college UBI, and that way it's a little bit more fair, right? Why do the athletes get all the money just because they play a sport? Puneet in the engineering department, he's not contributing? I think he is. I think he is in a big, big way. There's one final thing I want to talk about as it pertains to media and universities, and that is whenever you watch a college football game in the commercial break, you get a commercial from the university, okay? And this is a message to the media departments at these universities. Stop it. They're all the same. It's like, at University of Wisconsin, we think different. And then it, like that person's throwing a Frisbee and the Frisbee flies into a professor who's catching a paper or like, putting a paper into something, and the paper's like, we strive for more. And then that paper is being received by someone who's like, equity is we think, they say, whatever, some pithy line. And it makes this whole thing. There's always a group of students working with lasers. There's always someone looking at a microscope. There's often a group of students working on like a car that goes really fast, like one of those Bonneville Salt Flat, fastest car things. There's always kids working on that in the commercials. It shows some of the historic architecture. And then at the end, it'll be like, University of Wisconsin, where dreams happen. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Do an honest one. Be like, hey, the washing machines are actually kind of bad. Hey, off-campus living is the only real way to have a social life. Tell us the truth, right? At University of Wisconsin, dreams can materialize. And it's some like drone shot of like the quad. I've seen enough. I don't want to go to your school because you have a drone, okay? I want to go to your school because there's like a 24-hour hot kitchen. Hit me with that. Or like, there's plenty of single bathrooms in the library. It's not just two big a women's room and a men's room. There's like a bunch of, you can have individual experiences. Like you can be in private. If you put that in a commercial, hey, we have a bunch of single bathrooms in the library. So, when you're studying and you have a coffee, you're not like, who else is in here, and hearing them breathe. Okay? So just a little tidbit for the media departments. Just a little piece of advice. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the very first show. Oh, Wise Owl, did you have fun? No. Okay, whatever. Cheerleading baddie from Denver, what did you think? I love the Rockies. Okay, whatever. We don't care. Guys, down below, you'll find some buttons. If you could give those a smash for me, I'd really appreciate it. And join us for future shows, guys. We're going to be getting into sports, and we're just going to be chopping it up, having a good time. I am Johnny Disco, and that was The Sports Idiot.